Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
You thought we were going to get away from politics by talking comedy, but I got to tell you, I have bad news.
They go hand in hand.
You couldn't be more wrong, because comedy has played a big part in this election, especially in recent weeks. From Tony Hinchcliffe's floating island of garbage comment at Donald Trump's Madison Square Garden rally to Kamala Harris's appearance on Saturday Night Live on Saturday, not to mention whoever wins the election, Carol, will most likely be, can I say this, the butt of many jokes over the next 4 years by late-nighters?
It's a given, right? And we look forward to it.
It's what you sign up for.
Equal, right? No political divide on that. We appreciate the humor that comes in. Our next guest is a perfect one to wrap up our special edition of Bloomberg Business Week. We've really been focusing on the elections today. Caroline Hirsch is the founder, of course, of Caroline's on Broadway, operated from 1981 to 2022. Also founded and produces the annual New York Comedy Festival, which she launched back in 2004. It kicks off this week. Includes names such as Judd Apatow,
David Tell is going to be there.
Yep.
Britt Miggs,
Brittany Brave, Bill Maher, Tracy Morgan, and a lot more. That's quite a lineup.
It's quite a lineup. And that's just like, I was looking at the website, that's like a tiny fraction of who's going to be there. Caroline Hirsch joins us here in the Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's nice to be back.
It's like a nice tradition to have you in, but one thing that's different about this year is that it's, election day tomorrow. So,
well, we purposely had the festival after the eletion.
Did you really?
We have something. Oh yeah, you can't get in the middle of
that
this.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, talk a little bit about that, though. I mean, a lot of the comedians you have who Carol and I just mentioned, politics front and center for them, and I think a guy like Bill Maher. I mean, he's all
Bill.
over it.
Oh, can't wait to see Bill.
I think he gave a little promo last week on his show about the New York Comedy Festival.
He did. He's been, Bill's kind of like a fixture. Last year he took a year off, but, he's back again. He's been in the festival for a number of years now, and we always usually have it actually 1 year we had it before, and I think it was before Donald Trump got into office, and he had some words to say about that. So, but, Bill's been, I have to tell you, Bill's been this guy that is really center. He calls things out the way he sees them. And I think he's very honest. I mean, I love watching him. And I think Bill's got a bigger career now than he's ever had.
Well, okay, so that's so interesting you say that, because one thing that's different now that he's doing is this Club Random podcast, which is so different than his normal show, right? It's a weekly show on HBO is what he's known for. But he has this podcast that he just sits down with people and does these long interviews. Seems like everybody's doing this now.
I think, yeah. Listen, podcast is the talk radio of today. So they're very interesting people. We have lots of podcasts in the festival that kind of so how did he get made? Which is great, which is a group of people that got together one night at a party and said, hey, how did that ever get made for TV? And they created a podcast.
People love that. Well, wait. So when you think about what you want to do with the festival, and you've been doing it for such a long time, and I'm sure there's evolution, and there's obviously, the iconic comedians you want, I'm sure new voices. Tell us how you think about it every year.
Well, we think about it like the day after we, the middle of this November coming up, we'll think about next year. But it takes about a year to get everybody kind of in line, and between the schedules and this and that. So, we have close to 300 shows around New York City with, 200 or more comedians that are around. So, we have something for everyone. I mean, we're at the greatest venues in the world. The Beacon Theater, Town Hall, Carnegie Hall, and it's an array of great comedians. And we have, we're kicking it off on Thursday night with a tribute to Joan Rivers. This is something her daughter, Melissa, put together.
Sweet.
And it's called Dead Funny, and it's all-star tribute to Joan, and it benefits God's Love We Deliver. And there are plenty of comedians on there, like Nikki Glaser, Matano Lane, Randy Rainbow, Michelle Bateau, Rachel Branahan, who played The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is kind of a, look, there are two hit shows on TV today. There were The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and Hacks, and they both kind of centered around the life of Joan Rivers.
Right.
So here you go, an older lady.
I got Carol on the Hacks train. I said, you got to watch Hacks.
Yeah, which is really, well, but it's also a combination. You've got a lot of musicians. Bruce Springsteen.
We have Bruce, but Bruce is part of our big event.
Because why?
Stand Up for Heroes.
Love it.
It's something that Bruce has
I should never question Bruce being anywhere, but
he's been on the show for, it's our 18th year of doing Stand Up for Heroes. He's been on the show for 17 years. He took 1 year off when he was doing his Broadway show. And he's been a constant there, and he's very involved with vet issues and raising these funds. And we have a stellar lineup this year.
And it is the 20th annual New York Comedy Festival, and the Stand Up for Heroes. Like
Stand Up for Heroes is 18 years. And
18 years.
And it's, over this time, we've raised over $100 million for veteran causes. And I just went over, I'm on the board of the Woodruff Foundation. I just went over a number of grants. We gave out $10 million in grants this year. When there was a hurricane in Tampa, we were there helping out the vets. So we're like action-packed, vetted the best way you could possibly be, and this money is well spent with the veterans.
I got to say, with veterans, I mean, nothing funny about it that, we have individuals in our country who go over and fight for freedom and to protect other countries, to protect Americans and American assets, and come home, and then it's like they're forgotten. And it's, I'm not going to get political, but it is great to see the efforts that you do and others to help them out.
Thank you.
You mentioned Bruce Springsteen, but Jim Gaffigan, Nora Jones, Questlove, Jerry Seinfeld, Jon Stewart, among others.
And Mark Norman,
Mark Norman, too, yeah.
It's a great lineup. It's going to be super.
What are you looking forward to? You said Bill Maher. You said
I go to get to see Bill. Bill started with me in my first club on 8th Avenue, so we've known each other for years. I'm always excited to see him, to hear what he has to say. I'm excited for
Did you know Bill
shows.
was going to do well, or did you think what is it when you see somebody or wow, this person's going to be?
Bill had great stand up.
He did.
40 years ago, yeah. So he was great at that and stayed with it, and then Politically Incorrect got him to where he is today. So he just was there, tenacity, and stayed with it and did great. But we have a lot of people that have worked at the club for so many years, like Tracy Morgan, J.B. Smooth, Miss Pat is at Town Hall also. Adam Ray is playing Dr. Phil at the Beacon Theater. Jabuki Young White is also at the Hard Rock. The Hard Rock is playing a big part in the festival. We have shows there practically every night at the Hard Rock Hotel. It's a great venue that's there. We have a tribute to Gilbert Gottfried that's there. So it's kind of taken the place of the Caroline space, and we're doing all of those shows there at the Hard Rock.
We're going to talk more about Caroline's in just a minute, but I do want to get you to weigh in on the election stuff and just like the way that comedy has played in just over the last week. I mean, if you think about what happened at Madison Square Garden with Tony Hinchcliffe and the way that comment from him just dominated the news cycle, now there's some polling that actually indicates that it caused potential Trump voters to move away from Trump. Did you think we'd be talking about like a comic who's known for roasts?
No, not
affecting
at all.
the presidential election?
What you call it is like a bad booking. Just like a bad booking, and it shouldn't have happened. But then again, you hire Tony, you have to know what comes with Tony. It's like, there's no filter. So you really can't filter a comedian like that, as you know from the Tom Brady roast. I mean, he was really out there, so you have to know,
so tough.
The person that booked him on the show, not
something you would suggest for a political closing.
I would,
rally.
if I was in charge of that for the comedians, I would never put him up there. So,
what type of comedian would you put up?
Well, we had Jim Gaffigan that was at the Al Smith dinner.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, he made points.
Yeah.
But a little more,
Easier.
tasteful.
Yeah.
He's
tasteful.
a conservative, but he made points a different way. So there's a way to do it. So you have to know, how to book it. So Tony was not the right person to be there at that time.
So can we assume that the festival, since it'll be after the election, that there'll be a lot of political?
You should see Caroline.
All right, close up on Caroline.
Yeah, I was like, are you kidding me with this question, Carol Massar?
I mean, well, what do you make of that? I know. All right, so I asked the obvious. I
mean, I watch the late shows at night, and it's not a night that doesn't go by between Kimmel and Colbert. It just doesn't stop. It's like I have to walk out of the room until the monologue's over. It doesn't stop. So God knows what the next week is going to be.
Well, then you have you're coming off a weekend where, SNL and Kamala Harris appears in a skit. And I know political candidates have done that in the past, but you just think about how important it is in terms of reaching different voters, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's the way to reach young people.
From a comedy perspective, though, does SNL still carry the weight that it once did?
I think we're all talking about it, so I guess it does. Yeah.
Really?
Yes, yeah.
Interesting, because I wasn't expecting you to say that. I was expecting you to say, okay, well, maybe podcasts, YouTube, and these sort of things that get people, TikTok even.
It does.
We've talked about with you in the past.
But they repurpose everything from SNL goes on to all of those sites the next day. So that's where they connect with young people. They really do. I mean, I think I just read that SNL did a big deal right now with TikTok. There's a lot of stuff from SNL on there, so. It gets repurposed and then it gets seen. And it gets everybody just talking about it. So that when the news knows that Kamala Harris goes on to that, we all talk about it the next day. So it's a good booking for her.
Go ahead, Carol.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, what about it being a springboard for young comedians in this day and age? I mean, you used to be on SNL, and that's where so many legends got their start.
Well,
they can skip it. They can
Bill
totally
Burr
skip
is
it.
coming up and hosting this weekend. Bill Burr started out at Caroline's as an opening act, and we were the first people to ever headline him in New York City through the New York Comedy Festival.
Which is pretty. I thought I also read that Billy Crystal, SNL passed on him, and then he did and that he and then ended up on SNL.
That was probably, I believe, in 1984, 85. Dick Ebersol came in. Lorne Michaels was not producing then. Dick Ebersol came in and put him on, and then Billy just exploded again.
Yeah. It's just kind of interesting.
Caroline's was like a good luck charm for a lot of people.
So how do you think about bringing it back in some form?
Well, I think we want to bring it back in a bigger way, more of a big event that might happen
like
around
once
the
a
country.
year or something, or
maybe
you move it
more
around?
than that. Yeah,
She
So-
looks guilty. She
You
looks
sat-
like
you sat here-
looks like she's got something cooking over
sat here
here.
a year
We're trying
ago.
to cook something where-
You sat here a year ago and said, you'll have something for us next time you're here.
So that we're
Still working on it?
We're still working on it. Yeah.
When you say bigger, you mean outside of New York too? Maybe.
I mean, Caroline's as the brand taking bigger and just outside of the 4 Broadway walls, it'll be in other people's walls.
One thing that we've talked about at Bloomberg Business Week is this idea that Joe Rogan is trying to make Austin happen as a center for comedy, like it happened in LA and New York. Do you buy that?
I think he's done a good job of bringing a lot of comedians there. I don't know if it'll be the centerpiece of comedy, but he's bringing the New York comedians and the LA comedians and the Dave Chappelles to go in there. But New York is where it's at. New York is where it's at. New York is bigger than LA for comedy. So.
How do you think about comedy and the evolution of it? I mean, I grew up with a dad. I'm trying to think the roasts with Dean Martin and so and they still continue. But does it really change in terms of what makes people laugh?
No, I think it's what makes you laugh is the common thread of the joke. Because it happened to you, it happened to me. Ha ha ha! Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
So that's really why we all love comedy, because it brings us together in a way to enjoy something, and that's really why it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And it's a stress reliever. And
Well,
with
that's what we always talk about, loving to laugh.
with comedy,
So much
you
stress.
can take some of the bad news. It could be repurposed in another way.
Yeah.
So
You going to be laughing on Wednesday?
I'll be laughing Wednesday.
If it's a day that ends in Y, Caroline will be laughing.
She will indeed. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck with the festival. Everyone should check it out. 20th Annual New York Comedy Festival this November, November 9th, right? Quick.
November. It starts on the 8th through the 7th through the 18th.
Got it.